Hey everyone, this is Steph from Old Guy Melts Plastic. Today we're going to do something a little bit differently. I'm not a huge PowerPoint slide deck creator or presenter, but this is a topic that I come across frequently on the Voron Discord servers, and I thought I would create a little primer for people who are looking at CAN bus or hearing about CAN bus and want to know how to apply it to their 3D printers. So the title of the slide is Can I Buy Your Magic Bus? It is a lyric from the song Magic Bus by The Who. Subtitle here is Should you configure your 3D printer to run a CAN bus toolhead? So we'll talk about approaches and the pros and cons, so on and so forth. What is a CAN bus anyway? CAN stands for Controller Area Network, and bus in computer terms is a communications channel, usually either wired or wireless. CAN bus was originally conceived of for use in the automotive industry way back in 1983. If you have a vehicle built after 1996, it likely uses CAN bus technology for its onboard diagnostics, or OBD. It is only in the last few years that CAN bus has become more popular in the 3D printing community. For more info on CAN bus, please see this Wikipedia page. And I'll provide a link to all the links in this slideshow in the description of the video below. CAN bus in 3D printing. In 3D printers running on Klipper firmware, the primary use of CAN bus is to connect a secondary main controller unit, or MCU, typically on the toolhead, to the host computer. Printers running other firmware can also take advantage of CAN bus technology, but as I'm most familiar with Klipper, my presentation is going to be Klipper-centric. Pros and cons of CAN bus. Some of the pros. You only need 4 wires that need to be run to the toolhead, which provides simplified wiring, less mass on the toolhead, fewer chances of wires or crimps failing. When paired with an umbilical wiring scheme, it can help to reduce the number of cable chains needed in most DIY printer builds. Cons. You can suffer from stepper motor overshoot due to multi-MCU homing. There's a link here to the Klipper site that discusses multi-MCU homing. Basically, overshoot means that because of the delay in sending a signal from one MCU to the other, you can see the motors, go a little further than requested. And we're talking, fractions of millimeters here typically. I personally haven't noticed any issues in my own configurations, and I have 2 printers currently using CAN bus toolheads, but your mileage may vary. If you need ultra precise, accurate printing where, fractions of millimeters, really matter, then maybe CAN bus is not for you. CAN bus does add additional complexity to your printer's electronics ecosystem. From a security standpoint, CAN bus is easily exploitable if physical access to the CAN network is achieved. You can see the link here for a more detailed study on that subject. It's not really an issue for my personal use, but if you're security conscious, then that's something to be aware of as well. Most 3D printer CAN bus hardware implement the CAN 2.0 protocol, which is a bitrate limit of 1 million bits per second. And while that's perfectly sufficient for the type of things that I'm doing, if you need, higher, faster communications, higher bitrate communications, then that 1 million bits per second might be a limiting factor for you. Relatively new in 3D printing, CAN bus is less widely understood and tested. So, Steph, I want to ride that CAN bus. What do I got to do next? You first need a CAN bus transceiver and a CAN bus toolhead MCU. If your primary MCU already has a CAN bus transceiver, you can reflash your primary MCU to run in CAN bus bridge mode to connect it directly to your CAN bus toolhead MCU. Your primary MCU will now also act as the network adapter between your host and the CAN bus toolhead MCU, in addition to its other functions. If your primary MCU does not have a CAN bus transceiver built in, then you must buy one, such as a Big Tree Tech UTC, Mello UTalk, Cannibal, et cetera, et cetera. There are many others. Those are just a few that I listed as an example. This add-on transceiver will act as the network adapter between your host and the CAN bus toolhead MCU. Although not strictly necessary, it is highly recommended to purchase proper motion-rated cable for your CAN bus wiring, such as IGUS chain flex. Do your research on the hardware you already have and ask questions in your 3D printing community forums or Discord servers to help you decide what hardware you need to purchase. Bridge mode or not. Bridge mode on CAN bus capable MCUs means that your CAN bus toolhead MCU is wired directly to your primary MCU. The primary MCU needs to be reflashed with Klipper configured for CAN bridge mode. No additional CAN bus transceiver is needed, such as a UTC, UTalk, Cannibal, etc. Simplifies wiring due to less devices in the printer's electronics ecosystem. Your primary MCU now also acts as a CAN network device, slightly increasing its resource usage. In practical terms, you might not notice a difference, but there it is. Adding a CAN bus transceiver, your primary MCU remains intact. You don't have to reflash your primary MCU. There's less resource usage on the primary MCU. However, the CAN transceiver is an additional device that could suffer from wiring and other issues. You either implement bridge mode on your primary MCU, or you purchase and install an add-on CAN bus transceiver. Do not mix both together. And the jury's still out on which mode is better. Both choices are viable. It's up to you to decide which you're more comfortable with. Going with CAN bus means that I get an umbilical, right? Not necessarily, although they do often go together. You can install a CAN bus toolhead MCU without implementing umbilical wiring. You can also install an umbilical wiring scheme without installing a CAN bus toolhead MCU. CAN boot or not to CAN boot? CAN boot, see the link to ArcSign's GitHub here, is a bootloader for Klipper MCUs. While not strictly necessary, it adds convenience later if you ever want to flash new firmware to your CAN bus MCUs over the CAN bus wires. It has limited benefits if installed in your primary MCU, unless that primary MCU is also running in bridge mode. Most useful on your CAN bus toolhead MCUs. Any questions? You can reach out to me on social media. I'm Old Guy Melts Plastic on YouTube, on Discord. On Twitter, I'm Old Guy Melts Stuff because Twitter has a character limitation on usernames. And here's a link to a guide that I reference a lot when troubleshooting CAN bus configurations. Esoterical's Voron CAN bus repo on GitHub. Thanks for watching. Hope this was useful. Again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to do what I can to help you understand the pitfalls and perils of implementing CAN bus on your system. Have a good one.